Okay, so how? Second arrow. How do we do it? How do we take this insight and understand it or put it into practice in a way that actually affects change in our life? So just a very broad overview is that we're using this metaphor where there's a hunter who's out in the woods. She's beautiful, she's skillful, she's deft, she's trying to bring food back to her family, and she gets hit by an arrow. It's not her fault, it's totally random, it's something bad that's happened from the external world. But then, like every human I know, including myself, we can very quickly start thinking a series of thoughts which are self-deprecating, self-bullying, self-victim. Things like, oh my God, I'm such a loser, I got hit by an arrow, boom, that's the second arrow. So you want to say, I've been hurt, I feel pain right in that moment, because the thought formations are very fast, right away, they're going to start spinning back into yourself. You're going to say, I'm not going to shoot a second arrow at myself. You're going to set that intention not to hunt yourself, not to hurt yourself. Even though we know there might be some really interesting and dynamic reasons why a human being might hurt themselves, we're going to sort of see the error in that logic, that we're going to hurt ourselves to push people away, or we're going to hurt ourselves to draw in intimacy, or we're going to hurt ourselves to distract ourselves from that first pain, which could be a big pain, which is why we might want to do other sort of destructive things so we have something else to focus on. We all know it's incredibly cruel to kick someone when they're down, right? That's sort of a general understanding. If somebody has been hurt or hit or punched or is sort of in the gladiator's arena and down on the ground, it's seen as particularly cruel to hurt them again. So see that for yourself. You're already feeling pain, you're already hurt. Why kick yourself when you're down? Why punch yourself? You know, this insight is pretty clear. If you think of a hand punching itself, it's very easy to then see the error in that logic as the hand is connected to the arm, which is connected to the self. So this thing over here that's hurting yourself, it's part of the thing that's being hurt. It's just illogical, right? So you can see the logic error there. You can bring in compassion. You can say, I'm not going to kick someone when they're down. That someone is me. And then when you have that, you apply that insight, you dive down into compassion, and compassion is going to need you to sort of bring in your strength, your strongest self, to look at that first wound, to take care of it, to hold that first wound in a very loving way. So that's a sort of receiver, soft side of yourself, a tender piece of yourself that holds that first thing that happened hard and allows it to heal. But don't worry, you don't only have to be tender. You can be fiercely strong at the same time. And the fierce strength comes from saying no second arrow. You become your own bodyguard, where you say, second arrows are flying and I am blocking them. I am not going to let them land. When I notice the third one, I'm going to stop the fourth arrow, because these thoughts can be very fast. So you might only catch it on the fourth or fifth thought. Then you're going to tend to, you're going to backtrack back to the first hurt, the first thing that happened that upset you. You're going to trace backwards. And you almost don't have to heal the third and second arrow, because you can sort of evaporate and dissolve them. They have no ground to stand on. They're not real. They're self-inflicted. And the insight that they're self-inflicted kind of makes them dissolve when you notice them. If you can name it, it's just comparative thinking. That's not real. That's not good for me. It's just self-deprecating thought. That's not real. It's me aligning to a sense of self that's weird or less than or not okay, which is something my dad told me, and that's not true. So you can sort of undo the second arrow very quickly. It almost dissolves out of you. And what you're going to notice is when you get hurt, you get out of it much quicker. And you're also going to notice a ton of your internal thoughts are going to totally dissolve and subside. They're just not going to happen. So once a thought has arisen, we neither want to sort of keep it or fixate on it or push it away. We want to neither have clinging nor aversion. Very tricky. But what if we can get under that and we can make it so the thought itself never arises? Then you don't have to work so hard with it. You don't have to work on attachment. You don't have to work on clinging. You don't have to work on aversion. What if there's an insight that stops the thought from being birthed in the first place? It's second arrow. So, I hope you get into it. I hope it helps you. I hope it creates some really chilled out spaces in your mind and in your head and in your internal self, whatever you want to call that, your heart, your awareness, your self, whatever you want to call it that. And I hope that space becomes really, really groovy for you and is a little bit more charming and endearing and becomes a place you want to go all the time because it's safe and it's restorative and it's really, really lovely.